I'm extremely excited to be able to share with you guys tonight about what NPE has done for me. It's been a relatively short period of time, so I almost feel a little bit premature about being up here, to be honest with you, because I know I'm just literally scratching the surface as far as what's possible with this company. You guys are looking at a person that is truly living the dream. I wake up every day and I absolutely love what I do, and it's so nice to be right in the center of what God has created you to do for a living. And you say, come on, Randy, how do you know what God's created you to do? Here's a couple tips. When you go to bed at night, are you excited about your future? When you wake up in the morning, can you not wait to put your feet on the ground and start that day? And that's how it's been for me. But it hasn't always been that way. Okay, there's been some struggles and so forth along the way. You guys all remember this when the Member of the Year contest first came out. This wasn't even on the radar screen for me 3 or 4 months ago to be able to compete for this car, let alone be up here on stage and present for you tonight, because my belief system wasn't there. And to be quite honest with you, it wasn't until about 2.5 weeks ago when I was on a VIP coaching call, and I'd called in and Shawn was having some niceties with another one of the clients and talking about the weather and talking about business and how things were going, and all of a sudden the focus shifted on me, and he said, hey Randy, I haven't received your Member of the Year packet yet, what's going on? And I hesitated, unfortunately, which meant to him that I was making up an excuse, which he was right. I said, today is Wednesday, it's the deadline, I got a really busy day. We help with youth group at church tonight, so I thought that would be a good excuse, use church to get him off my back. But you know what? He had a couple options there of how he could have responded. He could have responded with weakness, and he could have said, you know what, don't worry about it. Just get your tail down to Orlando, have a good time, and enjoy yourself, but he didn't do that. He responded like a coach would and like a leader would, with strength, which is what I needed, and that's what I pay him for. And he said, I'll give you a couple-day extension, but I expect that to be in my office by Friday. And I didn't realize it at the time, but what he was doing is he was forcing me into action. He was forcing me to look at the prior year's activity of what I've done in my business. And a lot of times we don't do that. We don't review and have little successes and little victories in what we've done in life and especially in business. So that forced me to do that, and I greatly appreciate that. So for those of you that counted yourselves out of the Member of the Year contest, you wanted to turn something in but you didn't, that makes you normal, because we all got those those fears and those doubts, and we all struggle with the same things. So net profit explosion. A couple things I really came down here to Orlando to do was check these guys out and meet them in person and see what type of people they were, see if they were real. And I quizzed them on Thursday night, and listening to Shawn here on stage today, I'm absolutely more convinced. There's more layers of conviction in me that I know that these guys are the real deal. And they've really showed empathy to me in my life. And there's a difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is where they might look at where I was at and they'd feel sorry for me, but they'd leave me hanging there and they wouldn't help me out. Where empathy is, they were once there themselves, so they reach down a hand and they help you up and they get you running, and then they start pushing you to move forward. So they were in my shoes. Another thing I realized is that they've already done all this stuff. Shawn's built up a huge personal training studio in the past. Camelia's built a studio that, had over $1 million in gross revenue. So my little numbers, it's just not a difficult deal for them. So they can show me how to do it because they've already done it, which is a great thing. And you know what they really did is they freed me up to realize that I'm not a victim of my circumstances, but I'm a creator of those circumstances. It's kind of like when you're in a consult with somebody, you're sitting across from them and they're saying, I got poor genetics, I got a slow metabolism, and you're like, hey, hold on. You kind of hold the mirror up to their life and you say, you've created your eating habits and you've also created your metabolism. That's the bad news, so you're at where you're at. But the good news is you can recreate those eating habits and recreate that metabolism, and we can take you where it is that you want to go. And that's the same thing that they've done for me, is they've helped me to recreate my daily choices, how I look at the business instead of working only in the business, but also on the business, so that I could recreate, my life, basically, and be a creator of a better life. So 1 year ago, here's where I was at. Actually, even less than a year ago, probably 6 months ago. I was a one-on-one trainer, I was trading dollars for hours. And we all know if you don't work, you don't pay. If you're sick, you don't get paid. If you go on vacation, it's a double whammy because you don't get paid from your clients, plus it costs you money to go on vacation, so it's a double dip, and it's no fun. I managed the gym that I trained out of, so I got paid a small fee to do that, but I wasn't doing that at a really high level either. Even though I had owned a gym in the past, I just didn't really understand business that well. And I sold some nutritional products. We got a company called Advocare that's just like the Shackley, and that was a company I wanted to, or a business I wanted to invest more time in, but I didn't have any energy at the end of the day because I was trading all these hours for dollars, and I was just tired at the end of the day. So I wasn't doing that at a high level either. And I had some short-term successes, but nothing that was sustainable. And I remember that call that Shawn was talking about. I remember Eric telling me about a time in his life about how he said, I'd feel like I'd get some momentum going and I'd get over the hump and then I'd just come back down. And it was like, taking a handful of sand and you've got something in your hand there and it looks like it's something real and tangible, and then all of a sudden all that sand, it kind of seeps through your hands and you're left with nothing and you got to recreate that momentum again. And that's how I felt. I really registered with that when he said that. And I'll be honest with you, I had a really big fear of failure. I tell people I'm a recovering perfectionist, and if you all know what a perfectionist does, a perfectionist looks out here and he says, this is where I want to go, and it's got to be perfect along the way. And well, what that does is it cripples you because it's never gonna be perfect. And there's a big difference between perfectionism and excellence. And I use NPE because NPE is a company of excellence where they don't do everything perfect, but they do it with high quality, and they over-deliver value. And I knew once I hooked up with them that I would then be a person of excellence because you are who you hang around, and that changes you. And I put on here, I had these coaching calls with Dick. And I wish I could say that I called Dick, through the auto closer and the duplicator, and he talked me through that fear of failure and overcoming that perfectionism. But the truth is I was too scared to call Dick. And this is the reason why. I'd been in this industry for about 14 years at that point. And I was nothing more than a one-on-one trainer, a pin pusher, and I was just frustrated with where I was at, and I thought he was going to see right through that, and that he was going to call me on the carpet. And that scared me because it was, again, holding up the mirror to my life. When now meeting Dick, I know he would have really helped me out, so I had to stay stuck in that for a few more months, unfortunately. So, enter in the Member of the Year contest last year, and I watched, I remember Connor Kelly's and Mike Stair, the guy that presented earlier, those two, their testimonies really registered to me about where they were at and where they had come. And the thread that ran through all of them is they all did this Gold Rush program. So I was like, man, this is where I'm going to start out. And it was one of the most difficult things I've ever done, to be honest with you. I was up late, up early, and working my tail off, but it got me out of my comfort zone. I had over 200 new leads, starting from scratch, had 84 people at the event. And I sold an 8-week nutrition package to 8 people at $300 a whack. So every Tuesday night when I went to teach that, I was making $300 for 1 hour of my time, and that really started to take the lid off of my thinking. And ever since then, I've well exceeded 10 grand from that event and still climbing from that list. But I wasn't prepared for the growth because I didn't have other trainers in place to be able to move the traffic to. I filled my book up, but I wasn't able to capitalize on all the extra business that I got from it. But this was a major turning point in my life. I got second place in the contest, which means I got beat by a girl, but I'm cool with that, okay? Because first place was $1,000, but second place was a little iPod. And that iPod had over 15 coaching calls from, Gold Plus modules in the past, and I'd listen to those things every day. When I was making my food for the day, I'd have that iPod in my ear and listen to it for the first 30 minutes of the day, and that started to change me. Started to give me the mindset of thinking of how a business owner thinks, of how these guys market and how they sell. And I started to pick up the lingo, and that was a major turning point. Plus, doing that Gold Rush, it just deepened my convictions and built my confidence in what I could do, because filling up a room like that from scratch, that is no easy task, that's for sure. Some of the other NPE programs that I've done the NP or the auto closer and the duplicator programs. And here's a tip with that. I did the home study program. And now in the past, up until 8 years ago, I was a competitive bodybuilder. I worked my way up all the way to a national championship. So I know what it is to be disciplined, but I wasn't able to stick with it like at a high level like I should have. And there's something about doing the group training with these guys is being on the calls and listen to the other people. So make sure if you do that, you absolutely do it in the class setting. Then I got hooked up with the VIP boot camp, and this has been absolutely life-changing for me. And if you aren't in VIP, man, beg, borrow, or steal all that you can to get in there, because it's like working with a trainer one-on-one versus a big group. You know, Camellia, man, she came in and she had diagnosed everything in my life, where I wanted to go, what I wanted to look like when I grew up, you know, what my business was going to look like, the goals, the org charts. I had never done any of that stuff before. And she really started to change my mindset and really held my feet to the fire. Held me accountable. And she's just been an absolute integral part in my growth personally and in business, and in a really, really short period of time, basically since May. Got hooked up with the I Am Rainmaker, which I love that. You know, a story on how this boot camp and the Rainmaker with the website. I'm sitting in church 2 Wednesday nights ago, and my BlackBerry vibrates a couple times, and I'm thinking, I got a text or an email or whatever, and went out into the lobby after church was over and looked at it, and I've got 2 new boot campers at $210 a whack, so there's $420, dropped right into PayPal, don't know who they are, and I'm like, man, this is a beautiful thing. This is what we're all trying to do, you know, have these websites where we funnel traffic to, and it pushes them right to purchasing and fully automated. So I'm into the deep core. I'm not all the way through that yet, but still working on it. So it's pretty humble, but here's where I was at just 4 months ago, June 2009. You know, you do your org chart when it's just a one-man band, and this is what it looks like. I was the owner, I was the trainer, I was the admin, and I was the manager. It was me. And I was averaging about $6,000 to $6,500 a month gross, and I had really plateaued out at that point. And Camellia had me do my projected, this was my growth phase 1 of what my business would look like on October 1st of 2009, so just a couple weeks ago here. And you can see that I had projected my monthly gross income to go up to $9,000 because I was starting that boot camp in July. And my nutritional supplement sales I figured would go up because I'd have more people at my disposal. And I was to hire an admin and do all this stuff. The bad news is I really didn't look at this growth chart, and I know Camelia's going to be mad about that. But the good news is I blew those numbers away. Okay, so I went from $6,000 a month as a gross income, as a gross totals, to over $12,000 a month this last month in September. So everything doubled. I mean, the boot camp went up. I've got people working underneath me now. So I'm actually training less hours. This will show you. I'm training less hours than I was before, and I'm soon to be out of that completely. But I'm leveraging other people's time at this point. My nutritional supplement sales over doubled. Gym manager position. I used to manage one location. Well, as a result of what NPE has done for me, I sat down with the owner of the gym that I run, and he's got 8 locations. And I showed him a picture of what I thought we could do with NPE systems and their programs. And he said, hey, take the ball and run with it. So now I'm the general manager of all 8 locations, and it's totally as a result of what NPE has done for me. Adding that boot camp in, you know, has provided another $3,500 a month, and that's just, you know, we're hitting the ground running. And here's a tip, you know, up in South Dakota where I'm from, we had snow last week, so it's cold. We moved it indoors into it's actually a cheerleading facility. It's 11,000 square feet. The place is beautiful. It's absolutely perfect for what we're doing. When I get home, we're going to implement a 9 a.m. session, so we're going to have 2 of them going, and I get to market to the moms of those cheerleaders. So I've got like over 300 moms that are age 30 to 50. It's absolutely perfect. So like I said, my gross income has over doubled in the last 4 months in a recession, and you know, like I said, I'm just scratching the surface. I'm just getting rolling with this. So this is my family. You know, in the auto closer, first question they ask is, what are your goals? Second question is, what is your purpose? And purpose is always stronger, as long as you know where you're going, than that goal. That's my wife, Melissa, my 6-year-old Noah, my 2-year-old Nicholas, and my 6-month-old Max. So we're busy, let's put it that way. But this is my purpose. This is what drives me. You know, I'm able, as a result of what MPE has taught me, I know my future is extremely exciting. I'm going to be able to turn the things that I used to tell my wife, someday we would do that, someday we would do this, till we will be able to do this. We're getting out of debt at absolutely record pace because of the income that we've generated. And I want to leave you with this. It says God has put seeds of success in every one of us, and He has. And I remember 3.5 years ago, we were coming out of a tough spot in life, and I told her that. I said, I know I've got seeds of success in me. We've got an awesome testimony of what God's done in our lives. And I just feel like I can't get momentum. Every other area of our life is going really good. But you see, God doesn't just shine a light down exactly where you're to go. What He does is He puts people in your life. And those people water those seeds. And that's exactly what NPE has done for me. And as long as you don't quit, because they're not going to let you quit, I know Camellia won't, you're going to get there. So I appreciate your time tonight, and I thank MPE for all that they've done for me, and Camellia and Shawn and Dick and Eric, and look forward to a very bright future, and next year is going to be completely different. I can't even imagine with 8 gyms how we're going to be able to compound this thing. So thank you.